Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tony, an adult gerontology primary care nurse practitioner, and I'm coming to you today on the 4th of July, making this video. And I thought I would address something that's been on my heart. It was on my list of things to do a video on, and then I came across a Facebook posting asking the question, how did you know you'd be happy doing what you're doing? And it relates to a video idea I had about why I love nursing. So I'm going to try to just intertwine the two topics into one. I went into nursing because I was interested in how the body works. I think I've mentioned that in a previous video, which I will post up here that you can check out at your earliest convenience. Anyway, how I knew I would love what I'm doing. When I started out in nursing, I started out in the cardiothoracic ICU. And well, let me backtrack a bit. When I made the decision to become a nurse, I was fascinated with labor and delivery nursing. In high school, I did this New York externship in a local hospital. Local hospital's L&D unit, absolutely loved it, and I'm like, that's the type of nurse I want to be, an L&D nurse. So that was the plan. So eventually, when I went to college first, I didn't major in nursing, that story in that video, so you could watch that. And I ended up eventually returning to nursing school, finished. And while in nursing school, I got the critical care bug bit me. So I went from L&D to I gotta be a critical care nurse. So upon graduation, I got a job before I graduated actually in a local hospital there in New York. They started a nurse residency program, a critical care nurse residency program that was open to both existing RNs with other areas of experience and new grad RNs. So I got into that, started into the cardiothoracic ICU, like I said. And then while not in that position, I moved on to another position, and while in that position, I was doing discharge teaching. And I was teaching the patient about their medications, how it works, and how it works for their disease process, and their eyes just blew up, and they were just so fascinated because no one ever told them this information before. And that interaction, I fell in love with that interaction, and I wanted something where I can teach patients all the time so they know what's going on with their bodies. And my love for home health nursing grew from that. I found a position with the home health agency that, once again, I've always been blessed to find positions where they train RNs thoroughly. And I found an agency who accepted nurses who were coming from the hospital, getting into home health, and new grad, which at this point, technically I wasn't a new grad anymore. So I was in the RNs coming from a different field, getting into home health. Thorough orientation into home health, all the documentation that's required in home health. And I've been in home health ever since. That was 2006, and I've been working home health ever since. And at that moment, with that patient interaction, that's when I knew I would love what I was going to do. So fast forward, been a home health nurse all these years, got my master's in nursing education, teach my fellow nurses about what's going on in home health. So it gets to the point where, how did I know I would love being a nurse practitioner? And that moment came while doing my, I do remote work, checking coding and OASIS accuracy for home health agency. I'm checking their documentation, making sure it's on point. And in reviewing a chart one day, I was reviewing a patient that was admitted to home health, and part of the documentation was your history and physical from the hospital. And this particular patient ended up in the hospital for syncope or fainting. She fainted in her bathroom. And read through this H&P, and they worked up, and the doctors worked up and worked up and worked up and couldn't figure out why this patient fainted. Anyway, they stabilized her, sent her home. The RN went out to do their home health admission. I'm reviewing the documentation. The EMR spits back there's a drug interaction, severity level 2 drug interaction between these two drugs. So I'm nosy, I'm curious. I opened up drugs.com, typed in the 2 medications, and lo and behold, it causes hypotension, syncope, everything this patient experienced. And in that moment, you know, between all my years as a home health nurse, coupled with that moment, I'm like, it's about time I went back to school to become a nurse practitioner. So that day I went home and I researched schools, and this was in middle of 2017. And I researched schools and I decided on a school and I applied. And here I am today. I am a nurse practitioner and I'm loving it. I'm still doing primary care, because as a home health nurse, you are a primary care nurse because you're trying to prevent your home health patient from ending up in the hospital. So as a primary care provider, you want to prevent the patient from going into the hospital. You're trying to make sure they stay healthy, trying to prevent anything happening. Now, a lot of patients, of course, even in the primary care setting, they already have hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, all kind of stuff. So at this point, it's about controlling all these disease processes, and we're still trying to prevent them from ending up in the hospital because they still could end up in the hospital. So it's about maintaining their medications, making sure they know what their medications are for, making sure they know exactly what their disease process is doing to their body, and why it's important for them to come to their provider, their primary care provider, to make sure they stay out the hospital. And I absolutely love it. It's just a continuation of my life from being a home health RN, and now I'm a home health provider. Let me backtrack a bit about that decision, that moment, coupled with my experiences as a home health RN. As a home health RN, my hands are tied because there's but so much I can do within my scope. So when I call a doctor or a PA or an NP about a change in condition in my patient, and we use SBAR, situation, background, assessment, recommendation. I communicate with my patients' providers this way, so they know ahead of time, boom, 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 this is what's happening, I think the patient needs this. But I can't address the patient, I can't tell the patient to do XYZ until I get that call back, and so many times they never call back. And my patient's stuck, my patient gets upset, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, I'm sorry, my hands are tied, I can't do this because your doctor hasn't called me back. So now I feel empowered now that I'm in a position that if I see a patient who needs something, I now can provide that need. And it's a great feeling. It's hard now to find, traditional, I'll put it this way, full-time work, but I have a position, I'm working, and I'm loving it. And I wouldn't trade it for anything else. A patient asked me the other day, so are you preparing to work in a hospital? No, I always wanted to work in this setting, in the primary care setting. This is what I went back to school for, and I'm loving it. And I don't want to specialize. I love primary care. You get to know a little bit of everything, and the patients become like a puzzle, and you just want to figure out, okay, we're gonna fix this, and then in the meantime we're gonna fix this. And I think it's exciting, maybe because the nerd in me. But anyway, that was my video. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know in the comments below, Do you like primary care? Are you in school right now to become an FNP or an AGNP and you're not even thinking about primary care? You want to go into a specialty? Inquiring minds want to know. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button if you like this. Share it with someone who you think might benefit from it. And if you enjoy the videos on the channel, hit the subscribe button, okay? Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.